That station 95.7, it is Chris Edge. I'm on with Scott Avett of the Avett Brothers. We'll get into it. You were a painter, you were making music. At some point, these two things, I guess you were ECU, these two things had to kind of conflict with each other, and a choice had to be made, some sort of crossroads, right?
Well, the first time that I dedicated myself, well, one of the milestones. There were several along the way, but in 2004, when we went and performed at Merle Fest, that was it was a big deal because we had attended that festival a lot, and so we thought a lot of it. We thought a lot of the acts that were in it. And it was a goal that we had set, and I actually made the decision not to go to graduate school if we were invited to Merle Fest. Then accepted to graduate school in Florida for painting, and I was going to keep going to school. And then the idea then was to move to New York City and follow the art path. But the music just kept giving back, and so I kept giving to it. And my dedication, though, in turn, I said I'm not going to stop painting. I'm gonna just dig in harder. And I almost think that music, the life of music and traveling, has built it's built a great platform for me, or it's built a space for me to grow as a visual artist. It's very strange, but it's provided space for that to happen.
Fast forward to 2020, you've got the #1 vinyl album, #1 Americana folk album, the #1 rock album, and the Third Gleam. It has done so well. That was part of the plan, right?
When I was 5 years old. You know what? I think that's a true testament to Loma Vista's dedication to us on this, American Loma Vista, and then Ramseur, Dolph, our management, and because we just keep making what we make, that we trust that the rest will follow. We really do, and we just try to make from a sincere place, and I think we assume that sometimes that's appealing and sometimes it's not, but if there's other people that help it get in front of people where they can hear it, that does so much. So I got to say that there's such a team effort on this one that we're really grateful for that.
That station 95.7, it is Chris Edge. We're speaking with Scott Avett from the Avett Brothers about the new album, The Third Gleam. And The Gleam is really a series of albums, right?
I'll say this. I think it was after Four Thieves Gone. We recorded Four Thieves Gone. This is how this thing started. Four Thieves Gone, we went to a cabin in the North Carolina mountains, like really, really out there. And we were just held up in it for 11 days. That was it. That's all we did. And we didn't know how to take a day off. We didn't know how to take our time. So it was like 10 hours every day for 11 days straight. You can imagine what's going to start to happen. I mean, cabin fever is a real thing. And it happened to me probably more than anybody. Like I started to not, like I actually started feeling skeptical and I was suspicious of people that were visiting, and it was not good. Well, I went home after this exhausting outpouring of sound and concepts, and thinking there's nothing left. And then this little moment of a song just happened, and I remember thinking, this is the real thing. This is all that hoopla that I was, I don't know, maybe fabricating in my own mind, but also that was gathering around this big machine that we're trying to build. I looked at it as a big machine at the time. It really wasn't, but all the hoopla is happening. But over here in this little moment is the real thing, and this little light, this little glimmer of light is what I was thinking. And I was like, this is what happens within that little gleam. You know, that's what started. And then we notice a pattern of those moments happen throughout life, where big things would happen. And then in the wake of that big thing, or that wake of that exciting thing, this little very pure, seemingly pure thing happens. No, and it's no more pure than the other thing, but it feels just quieter and more, maybe closer and more personal.
It's Chris Edge on that station 95.7. I'm talking with Scott Avett from the Avett Brothers. Scott, I read somewhere you were talking about your painting, and you said your goal wasn't to be great, but that you wanted to engage and connect with people. I'm guessing you feel the same way about the music you create.
Absolutely. Ours is, it's just our opportunity to express our experience in life, living. And that must spawn a conversation, even if we're not part of that conversation, And there's this quote from Robert Rauschenberg that he says, if I knew how to do something, why in the world would I want to do it? We can turn back to primitive things. You can't really turn back at all, but we can turn to primitive approaches, and that helps sometimes. But I think mainly we just try to act from sincerity and from our gut.
Scott, as you know, we are in the throes of Save That Stage. We've teamed up with Band Together, and we're raising money for all the small clubs here in and around Raleigh. And we've been trying to communicate the value of these small clubs and these small stages and venues. And I wonder if you could talk for a second about your first time on stage, the first time that you played for somebody other than your family and your friends.
Absolutely. I'll cite the first time. The first time I really felt all alone, and I had nerves. I mean, my leg was shaking. I just remember. I mean, it was terrifying. It was my freshman year in college, and it was a club called Rockefellers, and it was a hard rock and play. You know, it was the punk rock, the metal scene. In the back was a anything goes bar, and I was 18 years old and very, very green, and I'm a very tender person anyway, and I'm going into this very very serious situation and performing, and it was terrifying. It was also completely thrilling and addictive. Now, I had performed before, lots of times without mom and dad around. Never been away from, I hadn't been up there with actual adults and people at the bar who really didn't care whether I was nervous, whether I was there or not. It was like, all right, you're on your own. This is ground zero. This is the beginning. This is the start. You got to work from here. After that, it was the Attic in Greenville. There was a place called the Corner, backdoor skate park. You go to Raleigh, and it was King's. Would go to the brewery to see bands. The brewery was at that pivotal moment. It was around that same time, 95. I mean, it was all the groups were playing there. I remember the Lincoln Theater, of course, and so on. I mean,
it just sounds so vital to your growth.
The whole, that whole scene, Raleigh, Durham, Greenville, like all the college, then go down to Wilmington, that whole college scene, it was a great place to learn and a great place to get your feet wet.
Without these venues, I don't know how you're going to get those opportunities to perform live like that, especially when you're starting out.
The reason the Avett Brothers exist is because we were afforded the opportunity to navigate and perform in, they call it amateur, whatever you want to call it, but it was the small club network. If we hadn't had that opportunity, we wouldn't exist because ours extended for 7-8 years.
That's Station 95.7. It is Chris Edge. I'm on with Scott Avett from the Avett Brothers, talking about the Third Gleam and also about Save That Stage, our effort to help save our local music venues that are in trouble of going out of business. Scott, do you think we're going to be seeing more virtual performances? And is that a good thing if we do?
Well, I think hopefully, I kind of hope that it will settle into some revitalized, a renewed population of places to play, and that the streaming will be. But I still think you got to have I can take a painting, take a picture of it, and send it all around, but there's still the canvas. It ain't the same. And for those fortunate enough to see, Nirvana at the Milestone in Charlotte, or the White Stripes at Cat's Cradle, those fortunate enough to see that, that's big time. That's once in a lifetime stuff. It's just magical. Ultimately, it's watching a bloom. Ultimately it's watching something bloom. It's a young group or person that is just coming into their own, and that gives us all life.
Right on, man. Let's end on that. Scott Avett of the Avett Brothers, thank you so much for joining us on that Station 95.7. We appreciate it.
Back at you, Chris. Take care.